I've got no idea who this person is, but for whatever reason, I'm blocked. I mean, really? All the pro Caitlin Clark content I make, and I'm blocked. Oh, I hurt somebody's widow feelings. Anyway, too bad. So, this went up on the Instagram from Caitlin Clark, and it's Caitlin Clark signing a lot of autographs for a hell of a lot of...
Time to get back to a lot of this. That's what Caitlin Clark posted on Instagram on January 19, 2025, alongside a video montage of her signing autographs for hundreds of Fever fans. And if you think that was just a harmless off-season post, you're missing the bigger picture. This was calculated. It was pressure. And it landed right in the middle of WNBA collective bargaining negotiations that have now stretched into a fourth month with no deal in sight. While other players are posting demands and frustrations, Clark quietly reminded everyone what actually matters: the fans, the game, and the reason any of this exists in the first place.
Has come out, made some comments about her being on that telecast between the Knicks and the Lakers, an NBA telecast. By the way, 4.5 million people tuned in. It was a record showing, and of course, Caitlin Clark was on that pregame. I would love to see the statistics of how many people stuck around and actually watched the game. I would love...
NBC's Basketball Night in America launched January 12th and pulled in 4.5 million viewers. That's a record for NBC's NBA coverage going back multiple seasons. And Caitlin Clark was right there on that broadcast, standing between two NBA legends, holding her own for the entire pregame show. This wasn't some chopped-up, pre-recorded 7-minute segment like an old Michael Jordan sit-down. She showed up in person, stood next to Rick Fox and Reggie Miller, both around 6'5", and delivered real basketball analysis. NBC Sports president Rick Cordella later said she checked every box the network was hoping for. This wasn't a publicity stunt. This was an audition for her life after playing, and she passed it easily.
Right here, there is still no collective bargaining agreement, as the league and the Players Association remain in a stalemate. And with each passing day, the possibility of the season being delayed or even being put in jeopardy altogether becomes more real. This is not something Clark wants, and her recent public statements have served to apply some subtle pressure to get the deal done. When Clark made her NBA on NBC broadcasting debut Sunday, she once again emphasized the importance of the moment for the WNBA, and that's not what I'm referring to. But yeah, the other night she was asked about CBA, and it was a statement that was still very, we've got to play some ball.
Now listen to how she handled the CBA question during that same NBC appearance. She said, "I feel very confident we're going to get something done. And that's because we're in this moment because of the product we put on the floor. So we need to continue to do that. We need to continue to play basketball. Think about that for a second." She didn't talk about what players deserve. She didn't complain about the league office. She stayed locked in on playing basketball and keeping the momentum going. That's leadership. That's seeing the big picture. And that's exactly the kind of voice the WNBA Players Association desperately needs right now, even if it doesn't seem like they want it.
Clark, from basically everything she has said, and I've said, man, boy, if it was me, she would be the president of the Players Union. I wouldn't think twice about it. Because you can tell, yeah, she wants a fair deal, but she also wants to play basketball. And she has handled this whole thing with an immense amount of class that we haven't seen out of hardly anybody involving these talks. And you can tell she gets it. She realizes none of this matters if they don't end up playing basketball this year.
She's handled these CBA negotiations with what one commentator called an immense amount of class, something we really haven't seen from many people involved in these talks. While the Players Association has been posting vague messages about respect and fair treatment, Clark keeps steering the conversation back to basketball, back to fans, back to the product on the floor. She understands something that seems to escape much of the union leadership. None of the money matters if they don't play games. You can't negotiate revenue sharing for a canceled season. You can't demand higher salaries if there's no product bringing in revenue.
This was put up on social media right here, and I've got no idea who this person is, but for whatever reason, I'm blocked. I mean, really? All the pro Caitlin Clark content I make, and I'm blocked. Oh, I hurt somebody's widow feelings. Anyway, too bad. So, this went up on the Instagram from Caitlin Clark, and it's Caitlin Clark signing a lot of autographs for a hell of a lot of fevered fans to see her. And she said, it's time to get back to a lot of this.
That Instagram post wasn't random. It dropped during a critical week in negotiations, when talks reportedly stalled over revenue-sharing percentages and opt-out clauses. The Players Association wanted the ability to reopen negotiations after 2 years if certain revenue targets weren't hit. The league office pushed back, saying that kind of instability would scare off long-term broadcast deals and sponsorship commitments. While both sides dug in, Caitlin Clark posted a video of herself connecting with fans and wrote, "It's time to get back to a lot of this." The message wasn't subtle. Stop fighting over hypothetical money and get back to creating the moments that actually generate value.
This league, and pay attention to it, her attitude is exactly why people have chosen to tune in. So, according to NBC Sports President Rick Cardella, Clark's performance checked every box the network hoped for. The appearance was not treated as a one-off moment, but rather a glimpse into what her future in sports media could look like. She's going to be a massive star. While Clark remains focused on her playing career,
She's right about the momentum. The 2024 WNBA season saw attendance jump 48% compared to 2023. Average viewership for nationally televised games went from about 440,000 to over 1.2 million. The Fever alone drew 1.7 million viewers for their playoff games, numbers that would have sounded impossible 3 years ago. Sponsors like State Farm, Nike, and Gatorade increased their WNBA investments by a combined $340 million. This isn't theoretical growth. This is real money, real fans, real momentum. And every day without a CBA deal is another day that momentum risks slowing down.
Who's horrible at making player comps, by the way, and Reggie Miller. I guess I could have done that video, but I didn't. Who was it? Peyton Pritchard. Are you high? Are you high, Reggie? Anyway, okay. I mean, it's Steph Curry, Luka, Larry Bird. I mean, what in the world? Now, you played around Larry, for crying out loud. Are you blind? Anyway, it's kind of remarkable, but she was really good, and she held her own.
Now compare Clark's approach to what we've seen from Players Association leadership. The union president has posted multiple times about players knowing their worth and not accepting less than they deserve. Breanna Stewart tweeted back in December that players were prepared to do whatever it takes to get a fair deal, language that usually hints at a potential work stoppage. Elizabeth Williams, another union vice president, said in a January interview that players were united in their demands and wouldn't be pressured by artificial deadlines. It all sounds strong and unified, but none of it really acknowledges how fragile the league's finances still are, or the fact that fans don't care about labor disputes. They care about watching basketball. Here's what makes Caitlin Clark's position so smart. She's applying pressure without alienating anyone. She's backing her fellow players without undercutting their negotiating stance. And she's reminding everyone, the league office and the union alike, that this whole thing only works if games are actually played. That Instagram post pulled in 2.3 million likes in 48 hours. Her NBC appearance generated more social engagement than any other NBA broadcast segment that weekend. When she talks about getting back to basketball, millions of fans instantly agree. That's leverage. That's influence. That's the kind of voice that can actually move negotiations forward, instead of just hardening positions. But here's the uncomfortable part that nobody in the Players Association wants to say out loud. Caitlin Clark's interests don't line up perfectly with the veterans driving these negotiations. She's on a rookie contract making about $76,000 this season. She earns roughly $28 million a year from endorsement deals with Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, and Wilson. Her financial security doesn't depend on WNBA salary structures. She could play for free and still be one of the highest-earning female athletes on the planet. The players pushing hardest for maximum salary increases are veterans in their late 20s and early 30s who don't have 8-figure endorsement portfolios. Their WNBA salary is their main income. Their leverage is their willingness to sacrifice a season. Caitlin Clark doesn't have that same willingness, And honestly, she shouldn't. She's 22 years old, coming off a rookie season where she averaged 19.2 points and 8.4 assists and led the Fever to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. She's probably got about 10 elite years ahead of her. Every missed season is a year she never gets back. She's not interested in sitting out 2025 to prove a point about revenue sharing percentages. She wants to play basketball, get better, win championships, and build on the momentum that's made her the face of women's basketball. That's not selfish. That's rational. But it does put her at odds with Union leadership that seems willing to sacrifice the 2025 season if that's what it takes to get their preferred deal. You can see that tension in how carefully she chooses her words. She says she's confident a deal will get done. She talks about the product on the floor. She emphasizes continuing to play basketball. She never directly criticizes the Players Association. She never echoes their rhetoric about doing whatever it takes or refusing to accept less than they deserve. She's threading a very narrow needle, supporting other players while making it clear that her priority is playing games, not winning a labor battle. NBC clearly sees her future. Rick Cordella didn't just praise her performance. He made it clear that her appearance wasn't a one-off moment but a preview of what her future in sports media could look like. In plain terms, NBC wants a long-term relationship with her. She's already scheduled for another appearance in March. If the WNBA season gets delayed or canceled, don't be surprised if NBC gives her a bigger role covering NBA games through the spring and summer. She's got the basketball IQ, the communication skills, and most importantly, the audience. Her value isn't tied only to playing WNBA games. That gives her a completely different kind of leverage in these CBA talks. The Players Association needs Caitlin Clark more than she needs them. If the season gets canceled, veteran players lose their main income and possibly shorten their careers. Caitlin Clark gets more TV opportunities, more time to work on her game, and more endorsement deals built on her mainstream popularity. She wants a resolution, clearly, but she's not desperate. And that changes how much pressure she's willing to apply and where she applies it. Which brings us back to that Instagram post. It's time to get back to a lot of this, not it's time to get what we deserve. Not it's time for the league to respect our worth. It's time to get back to signing autographs. Back to sold-out arenas. Back to the basketball that created this opportunity in the first place. That message was aimed at everyone, the league office, union leadership, and especially the fans watching this CBA drama and wondering if there's even going to be a season. The league office has to love her messaging. She's basically making their argument for them without openly taking sides. The longer these talks drag on, the more damage gets done. Sponsors get nervous. Broadcast partners make backup plans. Fans lose interest and move on. Every week without a deal costs money and attention. Caitlin Clark posting about getting back to basketball puts public pressure on the Players Association without the league having to say a word. She's doing PR work for them, probably without even meaning to. And the union can't really push back without looking bad. Are they going to say she's wrong for wanting to play basketball? That fans don't matter? That momentum isn't real? That momentum isn't real? They can't attack her stance without undermining their own goal of growing the league. If growth is the goal, then her message lines up perfectly. The only way her position clashes with the union is if winning the labor dispute matters more than playing games. And that would look terrible publicly. She's put them in a bind. She's applied pressure without giving them a target to swing at. She's reminded fans why they care about the WNBA in the first place. It's not labor negotiations. It's not revenue sharing percentages. It's watching elite athletes compete. It's incredible performances. It's players connecting with communities. That's what creates value. That's what brings in revenue. And that's what's at risk the longer this drags on. So now the question is whether her influence actually moves the needle. Does the Players Association feel enough pressure from their most marketable star to soften their stance? Does the league office feel more confident holding firm? Or do both sides keep digging in while the one player who could bridge the gap watches her prime years slip by? Because here's the reality. Caitlin Clark turns 23 in a few weeks. She's got maybe 10 elite years if everything goes right. Every season matters. Every year of development matters. She doesn't have the luxury of sacrificing a season over a labor fight she didn't create and can't control. And based on everything she's said and posted, she knows it. The real question is whether anyone else involved in these negotiations cares enough about that timeline to actually get a deal done. So what do you think happens next? Does her pressure work, or does the 2025 season get delayed while everyone argues over percentages? Drop your prediction in the comments and hit subscribe if you want more WNBA coverage.